and welcome back to Dragonborn Industries. More in particularly, that's not the right words. No. More specifically, two guys,
one cup.
There it is. I'm going to flick straight over to the hey Fluffy Cat Poop. Hey Dan Track, how you doing?
Hello.
Yeah, so you can see a camera up here in the corner. It's this one here.
Yeah, bit of a change around.
We've had a little bit of a camera configuration change because some people suggested that we were shit, and no, it wasn't the thing. But they wanted to see a painting a bit closer.
We got some good feedback.
Yeah, and I think I've tried to move the cameras around as best I can without them being too in shot. Because obviously, like, you can see like this bit up here and that bit over there, and I was trying to set up for tables, but no, this show's quite important to us now, and we want you guys to enjoy it a bit more. So hopefully we'll have. Can I see you guys on one camera? That's right, Fluffy. That's right. We are only on one camera right now because we're doing a little intro. What would you awkwardly name a dog? I said Uwu, so that people, when they were going down the street, would be like, Uwu! And then everyone on the other side of the street would be like, what the fuck?
Excuse me?
Excuse me, that's a good one. Yeah.
Oi!
Yeah. Oi! That's a good name for a dog. Anyway, let's split these cameras over because we're back to talk about...
Cybermastiffs. That's a thing from 40k.
Is it?
Yeah.
What's a Cybermastiff?
Like a police dog, but... They have like mechanical jaws, so when it latches onto a thieves' leg, it just shreds the skin off.
Is that like a Necromunda thing, or is that a...
That's a Necromunda thing.
Yeah, so it's like the... So we're going to go into Necromunda in due time, because we do have like some Necromunda minis and stuff like that. And I've got some Van Star and some Orlocks, and you've got some Enforcers, which I'm assuming the dogs are part of. And have you got anybody else? Anyway, onto the next. It doesn't matter. We're going to do Necromunda later because it's going to be a whole thing on that planet. Because Necromunda's a planet, isn't it?
We're going to have to cover the hive cities at some point.
Exactly, and that's going to be part, I think, of the Imperium.
We'll get to that.
And as we always say, we will get to that. Yeah. But we're going to sit around and we're going to paint some minis. And this week we are going to be chatting about some of the races of 40k. So. Last week we covered a bit more on like the Emperor's plan and how he was being trying to sort of like prepare the human race to go into the webway, but that all collapsed, and now he can only really defend humans from the other races that exist, which sort of takes us into this segue of a few sets of shows where we talk about the different species and races, and we'll probably only be able to cover a few of them tonight in this 2 hours. And then, you know, it's probably going to be like next week and maybe the week after talking about them, but we're going to try and talk a bit about some maybe Space Marines and the humans and the Adeptus Militarium, not Adeptus, the
Astra Militarium.
Astra Militarium, which is basically your baseline human. We'll try and talk about like the Tyranids. We'll try and talk about maybe some orcs. We might have some images for you. Another.
Or we'll go to top of Votan.
Yeah, so I've got some Votan lined up for you as well. Cool. Either way, we're going to get painting, and I'm going to move my coffee out the way because I don't have enough caffeine in me. So hopefully, what you guys should see is a that's this camera. So you've got an Alex cam up the top here, which hopefully if he puts his hands in, you should be able to see a little bit closer now. So hopefully he'll be able to see what he's painting and what he's doing with his nids. And if you've got
anything, I can just hold it.
Exactly, or we can use the cup cam and put it in front of that. Really, I'm the same. I'm probably a little bit further away just because of where the camera has to sit, I'm afraid. But again, I'll just put something on the cup cam if you need it. But let's start talking about the races of 40k. So I think let's avoid the humans.
Get used to the,
It's weird because you feel like you want to go that way to make it go that way, but it's still it's a bit odd. But I guess let's talk about the races. And I think because we've already talked a bit about the Imperium of Man, let's just talk about the other side of that and tell me a bit more about Chaos and the Chaos Space Marines. I'm going to flash up some pictures quickly because we can. So I've got some here. You don't have to talk about these particular ones, but I think when we look at the humans, and that's what we would call like the protagonists of the story, these are definitely your antagonists. So, Chaos Space Marines, go.
Right, so there's a Chaos Space Marine. Oh god, no. So this is one of many factions of Chaos Space Marine. So remember when we talked about the Primax, roughly half the Primax turned traitor and are now heretics. And their own Space Marine legions followed them.
That's my favourite.
Or Thousand Suns.
That's Thousand Suns. That's Magnus. They're basically like Egyptian-style Space Marines.
They're evil psychers.
Yeah.
So, so...
But anyway, carry on.
Yeah, we talked about all the Primax and their own Space Marine legions, basically following them. And that's why you had the Horus Heresy. You had Space Marines going against Space Marines, which was devastating to this new Imperium. Oh, dude, that's so cool.
But they're like gnarly Space Marines, aren't they?
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
like...
And they kind of like, they've been favoured by not only these demon Primax now, because they're like champions of these Chaos Gods, but these Chaos Space Marines, they've been granted certain abilities through that. And, you know, abilities is like a loose word, because you've got the Death Guard, which their Primac Mortarion fell in line with Nurgle.
Yeah.
So, Nurgle being the god of, like, decay, death, pestilence, rebirth, all that kind of stuff. They're basically just these, like, diseased, rotting Space Marines that don't feel...
Yeah.
that.
So I don't have... Like, isn't it something with Nurgle where, like, they're constantly suffering at the same time?
Yeah,
and that's the point. It's like, that's the worship of him.
Yeah, it's kind of like... It's this weird, deviant excess... Oh, we'll talk about Slaanesh, because that's all about excess. But just, like, the essence of, like, suffering is part of who you are, and if you embrace that, then yeah, you're just given all manner of unholy abilities. And
yeah, and I think it's like we see with, like, it's obviously this is all based on like a war game where like the faction that you choose has certain abilities. So obviously they need to find a way to do that in terms of lore. Cheers, Dan Track. Hopefully the camera setup's somewhat better, and reference images. Yeah, it was all suggestions that came in from you guys that were watching, and hopefully we can keep it coming, because the more you tell us we're shit, the harder we'll try. And we both went away at the end of last week, went, okay, we'll do loads of prep work, and then last night I messaged you like, shit. I've done nothing. So we had to like throw it together today, which was quite funny.
So I guess I'll talk through the different Chaos Gods and what the Space Marines
do for them, and
or what the Chaos Space Marines do. So we just talked about Nurgle. So yeah, you got things like Plague Marines, where they're just like walking diseases. Rot follows them anywhere they go. If you were to come in contact with a Plague Marine, either they kill you outright, or you turn into some weird pox. They're called pox walkers. They're basically zombies. Because zombies exist in the 40k universe. And that is a big part of the Nurgle narrative.
So you say zombies exist, is that like just like corpse reanimation, or is that like an actual like...
It's a bit of both. So it's corpse reanimation, and it's like...
necromancy.
Necromancy, and things like, you know, a baseline human walking around full of maggots. They just...
Oh, God!
They just explode.
Wait, hang on. So, like, that's like... Is that like an in-game thing as well?
It can be, yeah.
So you can have like these units of like humans
Space
just walking around
Marine.
like spewing diseased maggots
I think
everywhere.
Space Marines you can. I haven't actually played the tabletop game in many years, which hopefully with the new edition of 10th edition, we'll get into it. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that the Chaos, at least the Nurgle Chaos Space Marines, you can actually use that as a sort of stratagem, if you like.
You know what, it just took me 2 minutes
Go on.
to find a paint I had my hand on.
Damn.
I need to organise my paints better. I've got them in a makeup case right now, and it's just like...
I need a makeup case.
Well, it was all well and good, and then obviously like... I've got like a mix of Vallejo Army paint around Citadel in there. Yeah, you have to get used to the positions. So like...
There, that's a good position.
Yeah, get used to us like working out where we are with the camera thing while I do this hand gesture online. So Chaos is sort of like disease and entropy.
Yeah, well, Nurgle, and that's one Chaos God, so there's
it's sort of like coming at it as like aesthetically, it's like the metal kind of Space Marine factions. Like they've got like horned helms and stuff like that, haven't they?
Yeah, so we talk about Khorne, the Blood God.
Blood for the Blood God!
Skulls for the Skull Throne. So Khorne is basically your Chaos God of blood and war, followed closely by the World Eaters, which is a Chaos Space Marine faction, and I wish I got a picture of those to show you, but think of a Space Marine army tumbling down through the atmosphere in balls of flame, and as soon as they hit the ground, they start hacking people to bits.
Let's see if I can get one.
Oh yeah, that's basically your World Eaters Codex cover. That's probably the best.
Forgive the typing right underneath the microphone. World Eaters Codex cover. So yeah, they like rain down on the... So let's see if I can get a screen grab of that.
And their Primarch is Angron, who's a blood furious demon prince. It looks gnarly. We'll have to talk about the Primax at some point in more detail. We're trying new things out here, by the way, so please bear with us.
No, keep talking. I like it. I like leaving you in
silence. Oh no, I love that image.
So let's have a look, see if I can add one in here. Add an image. Let's find one of the World Eater. Browse.
Yeah, so the World Eaters.
Boom!
Ah, dude. There you go.
World Eaters!
Yeah. So they are blood frenzied.
Whoop!
Yeah. And look, oh god, look at that artwork. Yeah, blood axes, all about tearing people to pieces, gore, blood. The more blood that flows, the more appeased their god is. But this god is forever thirsty. So I think they actually at some point start killing each other. So long as the blood must flow.
Yeah.
So as long as blood is gushing from somewhere, Khorne is
happy.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I think Khorne was, we talked about Slaanesh being birthed.
Yes.
So I don't know if this lore has changed over the years, but I think Khorne was basically the earliest forms of what we now know as Khorne was birthed during humankind's medieval period.
So, I see. This is something that I've heard about, and this is because during that time we weren't exactly shy about being nasty little bitches, were we?
Yeah.
So I mean, like, how did that come about? How was Khorne, not the Jonathan Davis, but the blood god, birthed in those ages? What kind of things appeased his birth? Or brought about his birth.
So I don't think it quite has a fleshed out story like the birth of Slaanesh, where that led to like the collapse of the Eldar. But I think it's very sort of you're warring factions of humanity for thousands of years. It probably other races added to that as well, but by and large, according to the lore, it was humanity's dark period, Middle Ages, that kind of thing.
So not the veggie corn then.
No.
Oh. I'm not using the cup. Right, if we don't use the cup, which is the whole point of the name of the show, which is kind of stupid because we don't do it.
Yeah, no, I forget it.
Shout out, let us know. But like, use the cup! Or else your show doesn't make sense and
Right.
we'll get cancelled.
So yeah, that's Khorne. I guess we could talk about Slaanesh.
Yeah.
So Slaanesh, this sort of androgynous being, we don't quite know what it is, but
Big booty, sexy goth.
yeah, if you want.
Yeah.
Your own interpretation. That's why we love 40k.
Hail!
Yeah, so the deviant excess of the Eldar spawned the birth of Slaanesh, and all this negative energy is now the identity of this specific god. So like excess, pain, pleasure.
All kind of becomes one thing, really.
Yeah, just abundance of debauchery and
we spoke about that in, I think it was like episode 1 or 2, because we talked about how...
murder fucked into it.
Yeah, murder fucked into existence is the...
Which I do quote Adeptus Ridiculous on that one.
Is that where that comes from, is it?
Yeah, but I couldn't actually think of a better explanation than that.
No, and I think that you're right, because when you said that to me, I laughed, and then I went and looked it up, and I was like, holy shit. Like, the Dark Elder, or the Drukhari, is it?
Yes.
Quite literally, we're like, well, we're living forever, and we've got nothing left to do, so we may as well start enjoying the bad stuff, or trying out the bad stuff, until it was just like, going down the local chippy became like going to a brothel and getting your head ripped off.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay.
And I think I briefly mentioned this, but so the vast majority of Eldar society, right before the birth of Slaanesh, was basically your Dark Eldar.
Only a very minute amount with the regular.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the Exodites as well.
So actually, while we're on that, because a few of those decided not to stay on the planet, didn't they? They went off to craft worlds and stuff.
Yes.
I'm going to bring up some Eldar pictures. And I only say that because the first picture is quite literally of a craft world.
Yeah.
Which, no, it's not. Look at that. It's going to be that one there.
So that's that's your Eldar. That's your typical good Eldar, your space elf. I think we're looking at images of the ancient Eldar, but it doesn't really matter because they are very potent psykers. That is your Eldar craft world, which only a faction of the Eldar live on. They're basically continent-sized ships that house entire ecosystems. And this is how the Eldar continue to survive.
So they don't have like home planets; they have home ships, basically.
So,
they're like super star destroyers that.
Yeah. So your craft world Eldar are your spacefaring, continent-sized shipbuilders. I think there are Eldar planets that do exist, but the Eldar don't really. They don't really live on them anymore. I think they're called Chrome worlds. A lot of it is surrounded by sort of evil, because Slaanesh is constantly thirsting for, especially Eldar souls.
Because that's what birthed her.
Yeah. So that's where I was going. So the Drukhari, the Dark Eldar, after the birth of Slaanesh, the Dark Eldar, what we know of today, only existed because they were in the Webway at that time on their home planet of Komorra.
Yeah.
And they hate Slaanesh. They hate psychic abilities. The only reason they remain deviant is because this does actually appease Slaanesh. So they've got like gladiatorial arenas. They've got, we talked about the homunculus that turn slaves into furniture, but you're still alive. This is all to appease Slaanesh. So witnessing a gladiatorial arena, Dark Eldar taking out slaves with weapons, all manner of horrible shit, this satiates them because Slaanesh is forever tugging on their souls.
Wow.
So they will never, so long as Slaanesh exists, they will never truly be safe.
So they have to basically bend the knee and do what she says.
Yeah.
Or else that's it.
It's kind of like a sort of if you exist in a society with this level of deviancy, you're okay. You're okay. I'll come back to you. You know.
Wow.
But that's their existence.
That's nuts.
So yeah, they on the cover it looks like they worship Slaanesh, but they actually, Slaanesh is responsible for the collapse of their race.
Dantrak has put a link in chat for Discord. Dantrak Jonathan Davis from battling in Warhammer 40k. Let's have.
What, he played 40k?
I'm assuming it's going to be an art image. Oh, there it is.
Oh, dude. Yes. That is awesome.
Where's that from, Dantrak?
I think he might have just made that. I'm not sure. You posted some pictures of your interpretation of the Emperor a few weeks ago. I think it was. I didn't actually show you those, but he wasn't far off.
Really?
Yeah. The Emperor sitting on the throne.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Did we show the... Did you drag it into the thing? Or?
I didn't know because I don't know whose artwork that is,
see,
so
yeah.
I don't want to... So any artwork that we're using today, I think, is property of Warhammer and Citadel. If we
hope.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it is.
If we have bought up any of your artwork, or if you see here, give us a shout and we'll credit you, or we'll take it down. Either or. It's just that we're not trying to rip anybody off. We're just trying to age some people with the visuals, I guess, is the main thing there. So do let us know. So obviously, we're still trying to talk about Chaos Space Marines. We've got is there a Slaanesh faction then? Are they the World Eaters, no, that's Khorne, the World Eaters.
So the Emperor's Children and the Primarch Fulgrim. There's a story in the Horus Heresy where Fulgrim finally embraced Slaanesh. Fulgrim is kind of he's known as the Phoenician. He's your very arty, very visual appearance Primarch, flowing clothing, long blonde hair.
Dantrak, you don't need to say sorry for interrupting. Please do interact. We enjoy it. If we go off on a tangent, it's your fault. Yeah. But no, so that was apparently AI generated, that one. So if that's the case, I will probably show it in a minute. But
so there's a story where Fulgrim, he embraces Slaanesh, and because he comes from this very cultural planet in terms of art and just music, art, culture, things like that. There was a performance in the Horus Heresy, spoilers by the way, where I
remembered because I wouldn't have said it.
Yeah, this concert. I won't go into too much detail, but this concert basically became a bloodbath, and So the Emperor's Children. I digress. I'm sorry. Emperor's Children and Fulgrim are closely aligned with Slaanesh. And your Emperor's Children, I think they call Noise Marines. Some of them are called Noise Marines. I don't know if you've seen a picture of somebody painted a mini. It's basically like that scene in Mad Max where that guitarist has got a flame coming out.
Oh.
That is a weapon.
Really?
Yeah. So this, I don't know if it's like a mainstream. I think somebody might kit bashed it. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, basically like this deafening cacophony is just utilized because it's like excess, isn't it? It's an abundance of something.
That's cool.
And the more deviant, defiling excess, the better in terms of appeasing Slanesh.
So is that the same? Because obviously I've seen the Orc minis around that have got like big speakers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or is that a Slanesh thing, or is that a...
No, so Orcs, no, I think it's probably just like somebody's interpretation of that. That's cool.
Okay.
Sounds really cool.
We'll get to that then.
Yeah.
So that's Slanesh, and there are Chaos Space Marine factions for Slanesh. So we've got Khorne, we've got Nurgle, we've got Slanesh. Who is number 4?
So Tzeentch. I think Tzeentch is the chaos god of knowledge, things like trickery. I wish I could explain it better, but closely aligned with Magnus. And do you remember when we talked about when Magnus did a boo-boo?
Yeah, he was like, oh...
He was very sure of himself and very confident in his abilities.
Yes.
And unbeknownst to him at the time, he was being spoon-fed knowledge of the warp by Tzeentch.
So this is your Loki of the kind of like 40k verse, where
yeah.
like they are evil and they may have this like either maybe a cheeky, mischievous side. I don't think there's cheeky and mischievous in 40k.
Yeah.
But like they seem like somebody who's on side and is like, hey, here's all this information, but not all of it.
Yeah. You're
Boom.
mine. Yeah. So yeah, Magnus, being very confident in his abilities, didn't realise that it was all a ploy by Tzeentch to get to the Emperor. So I think Adeptus Ridiculous, I did mention this before in an earlier episode, it's kind of like feeding him knowledge, saying, oh yeah, this is really good, oh you'd like this, oh you'd like this, oh how about some of that? And then retaining all this knowledge, Magnus is like, I know what to do, but it's all a ploy. Because this, allowing Magnus this knowledge, in turn allowed Tzeentch to gain access to the webway, or at least the Chaos Gods. So that is Tzeentch.
So Space Marine factions of Tzeentch.
The Thousand Suns, which is, one of your favourites?
I just love the... they'll come around in a second. I really like the aesthetic to them because if I was going to get a traitor faction, it would be those ones. And actually, I met a really nice bloke called James who said he'd watched the show and was like, I'm going to go buy an army. And I think he actually went and got Thousand Suns.
Really?
Yeah. So
they're your evil psychers.
Just awesome. They look so badass.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're also my favourite traitor race. Yeah, so that's the Thousand Suns. So that's when we talk about chaos and when we talk about the humans. Yeah. So you've got your basic Space Marines and you've got like we'll talk about the Militarium later on, and we've talked about the Sisters of Battle. We'll do those another time.
And that's, I think we only mentioned like 4 factions of Space Marines there.
Yeah, there are loads more, and I think
Chaos Space Marines, sorry.
Yeah, and that's only really because they were the 4 Chaos Gods who control it all. But there are more, so each one's got like more and more factions, don't they?
So I think like the Primarch Perturabo, the Iron Warriors, I don't think he's necessarily aligned with a Chaos God that strongly, but they are very much on the side of Chaos. Yeah. I need to do my research on that actually. Sorry guys, I'm getting used to this camera angle. So
while we've spoken about humans, now we've spoken about the dark side of humans being chaos, let's move to what you're painting. Let's talk about Tyranids, because we spoke about these before. These were like your classic monsters of the verse. These are like the unstoppable xenomorphs.
Extra galactic.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't know their origins. So alien. So this is a Tyranid invasion there. So they traverse the galaxy by means of these enormous hive fleets, and they're so enormous. They block out the sun. They are just teeming with these organisms.
And it is all bio, so even their starships are biomatter.
Yeah. It's all, and the hive mind communicates with each and every organism by means of it's called like a synapse. Yeah. Which is kind of like an evolved psychic ability, but it's very sort of like
But it's not warp, is it?
No, so I think they do have a they have something called the shadow in the warp, which is like...
Oh, that's it, yeah.
Their own presence, but it's kind of like
blocks out communication.
Yeah, communication blocker, yeah. It's like static when like an astropath tries to listen for messages in the warp, it's just like static.
So it's kind of like, again, that antithesis of the warp. They have their own psychic ability and their own thing that kind of like overpowers that then.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, tell me more about the Tyranids. Like, what do we know about them? Like, what are they in the game? And
yeah, there are various Tyranid. Sorry, I thought my phone was ringing. Various Tyranid organisms. And remember, these hive fleets, they're very quick to pump out these new organisms to like get around a certain obstacle or planetary defenses, that kind of thing. You've got things like vanguard organisms. I don't know if we discussed those, but they're basically like we talked about your gene stealers, so like people being corrupted by like an alien mutation. Next generation, they changed a little bit. Generation after that, they've got 4 arms. They look different.
And it's like a slow invasion force.
Yeah, it's like an insidious...
Because they're then connected to this hive mind.
It begins in the form of like an underground cult, which eventually overthrows a planetary government.
So is that like the pre-scouting? Like they send out units to like Gene Steal, and then they're like, right, come to this planet because it's right for the harvesting. Here's their defenses.
Yeah, and all the while the hive mind is I don't know how. I would guess by means of devouring and consumption would know more about this planet, population, that kind of thing, defenses. So they've got the gene stealers. I don't know, I've got one here actually. I'd hold that up. Nope, Alex, that way. So yeah, very, very gnarly.
Look at that.
So that's why I decided to kit bash 1 or 2 of them. Because you know that, is it the necromorph in Dead Space?
Yes.
It's just sort of, fuck me, go on. That sort of like human mutation.
If you go a little closer, hopefully it'll focus in.
Come on, motherfucker.
It's gonna be sit here. It's like play find the camera focus. Try putting your hand underneath it. Sometimes I find that really makes a difference.
God damn. There we go.
Come on. Come on.
Come on, you son of a bitch.
So while we're waiting for that to come in, there you go. So you've kit bashed like a human skull on there.
I just got a human skull because I thought, well, if these are mutating, it might be worth playing with.
That's cool.
I just thought I love that the Dead Space aesthetic of like these hosts, these human hosts just taken over by this like alien strain, and it's just so gory and
well, it's very Ridley Scott, isn't it? And it's just
yeah.
like, I think because you and I both come from a background where we like sci-fi horror. Because I'm a big Ridley Scott fan. I'm a big Alien fan, and it's why I liked Tyranids as a teenager, and it's why I enjoy, playing in the Alien RPG and stuff like that. It's one of the joys that I get to do, and Tyranids does fit that kind of criteria. Right the way to like, it's not just like, because you'd expect it to be all melee with Tyranids as well, like because they're just all claws, but they're not. They're like they evolved to have bioweapons.
Yeah, bioweapons. They shoot acid. They shoot acidic flame, or some organisms do.
It gets through like the armor of a space marine.
That's right, yeah. And then these space marines, there's space marines losing entire planets. Space Marines headquarters, they're basically the chapter headquarters. They're called fortress monasteries.
Wow.
And to invade a fortress monastery is a fucking stupid thing to do, unless you're a Tyranid. Because, gargoyles, Tyranid gargoyles, like organisms just clogging these huge surface to atmosphere batteries just by pure number. And I need to talk about what the Tyranids actually do when they are consuming a planet. So, by and large, everything is consumed as much as possible, all organic matter, at least on the surface. But some minerals as well, because we got the carbon, things like that in minerals. Once this planet is completely taken over, you have these things called reclamation pools, where like these organisms will devour other organisms, or maybe like humans or whatever, and then they'll just like throw everything into these things called reclamation pools, which is basically like lakes or oceans of like breaking down organic matter.
Wow.
Which in turn gets sucked up to the hive fleet from the surface by means of these capillary towers. Pretty gnarly shit.
So the big alien spaceships, which are basically a creature themselves because they are a bioship.
Yeah.
they send all of these like creatures down, and then they throw all of the humans in, they throw all the space marines in, they throw all of the plant life in, and they'll just jump back on their ship and go.
Yeah, and move on to the next system. And they leave behind a husk of a planet. There's a good story which I just finished, The Great Work with Belsarius Call, who we'll get to. He's basically come across, well, he's not, he comes to this space marine planet post-Tyrannid invasion, and the space marines of some numbers have survived, because this particular chapter, I think they're the size of the Emperor. They specialise in Tyrannids.
Wow.
But their planet Sothar is just gone, and somebody described it as a perfect geographical, topographical diagram of a planet. You know, imagine what the planet Earth would look like without the ocean. It'd look quite different.
Yeah.
Kind of like that, just like a lump of rock.
Wow.
And yeah, just stripped of biomass. And yeah, they just move on to the next system. And I think I did mention this, but each hive fleet, they emerge in like tendrils, so like tendrils of hive fleets, and there's like Hive Fleet Leviathan. This is all names been given to them by the Imperium.
Yeah.
Because they're quite a relatively recent faction, only the last few centuries in terms of the narrative.
Yeah. So I say they've been around for a long time in the game, but like in the narrative, it's literally like, you know,
the
humans have been fighting humans, humans have been fighting orcs, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, buddies that are fighting among yourselves, we're going to come in and eat you.
Yeah. So all these tendrils, all these hive fleets, they are entering the galaxy from different locations. So the galaxy may be completely surrounded by Tyrannids, because we don't actually know what's on the outside of the galaxy. All we know that all these Tyrannids are coming in from like the galactic northwest, the galactic southeast.
Wow.
One, I don't know which hive fleet it is, but it's coming from beneath the galactic disk. So it's coming straight up. Yeah, we could be fucked. So that's the Tyrannids for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which you are painting up right now, and
yes, and I am so sorry because I keep forgetting that the camera is.
Well, I mean, I think that the point of the show is just to kind of chill out and hang out and have hopefully people come along and learn something. And if you're painting along at home, let us know what you're painting.
Yeah.
And you know, if you've got any questions to do with painting, Alex will answer them.
Yeah. Do you want to? did we put the Tyrannid images up?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
We start with the hive fleets there. Cool. So you're painting Tyranids or Tyrannids because you say they're from the planet. Oh, first thing on the planet Tyran.
This like this just tells of like the ignorance of humanity surrounding the Tyrannids. So like their designations are the Tyrannids or the Great Devourer. Considering that the Tyrannids are, it's a reference to the first recorded contact with Tyrannids, because it was the planet Tyran. It's like lush ocean world Tyran, which the first recorded conflict with these Tyrannids came from. So that's the designation. That just shows how new to this alien species the Imperium is.
So it's more a case that, like, you know, they could have been moving through the galaxy system to system for thousands of years, especially during the Age of Strife.
It could be pretty well established,
Yeah. So that's pretty dangerous.
And you know how many gene stealer cults are on these different planets?
Yeah.
I think there's talks of, well, this new narrative, the 10th edition. There's a gene stealer cult on Terra.
Wow.
And I think it's Hive Fleet Leviathan possibly is heading for Terra, and that's going to be an emerging story arc.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So this is like basically like another thing the Emperor has to fight off.
Yeah.
That like, although he's this force in the warp, will he be a force in the warp if the Tyranids or Tyranids have?
Good question. I didn't actually think about that. Yeah.
This like shadow.
Yeah, this shadow in the warp thing.
That's cool. I like that. So you're painting up Tyranids, and what kind of scheme? Have you picked a scheme, or are you just like?
I haven't seen a scheme and chosen it. I've just kind of like experimented. Really, I think I mentioned it in a couple of episodes ago. Just like this gory feel. I'm just dry brushing, really, seeing what happens. That was a Brood Lord that I started painting.
Oh, that's so good.
That's far from finished, but your base colours are pretty much there. sort of like.
But like that flesh goes, like makes it look slightly orange and like acidy and hot.
The sort of bulging carapace, the flesh just looks like it's just been birthed.
I can answer this one for you, Dan Track. To what extent does racism exist in the lore? So, I suppose it's not really racism, it's actually xenophobic.
I think pretty much every faction is xenophobic.
Yeah.
At the very least. So, like, the Tau are supposed to be the least xenophobic, but they're pretty xenophobic.
Yeah, and I'll get to the Tau in a minute, because that's who I'm painting up today, is the Tau Combat Patrol. But in terms of xenophobic, it's... Yeah, I think one of the things that I've learned about the humans, and I'll let you kind of go on more about it, is that the whole point, and the biggest weapon the humans have is numbers.
Yeah.
And it's the same as the Tyranids. It's a case of like, if you can, even if it's just throwing a human into the battlefield to just cover the enemy in humans, will win. And that's kind of their point, is they're like, entire planets of people have one job, make a bullet.
And your baseline human is, by and large, very ignorant. Because their whole existence is like working on production lines or...
Yeah, and they're only given information, like a lot of them can't read, a lot of them can't...
And a lot of these planets don't even know chaos is a thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't know Tyranids are a thing. Probably, I wouldn't say the majority, but a large number...
It's kept from
is
them.
very ignorant.
Yeah, so they just do their one job over and over again, and when you die, you're processed and turned into food and fed to the next human. And so that's what I kind of like. So it's not really racism to say, because I think all humans see themselves as humans.
There are things like agri-world, so like some systems fare better than others, but you know, if you're on a planet with an imperial tithe, or like, you know, you need to produce a certain amount of weapons for the Imperium, so your entire planet is dedicated to the manufacture of weapons.
Yeah.
You are just...
That's it.
You're just a cog.
You're a cog in the machine, but it's like almost like slavery just to survive.
Yeah.
And I think that it's definitely more xenophobic. So like if an alien turns up, it's like just kill it on sight.
Yeah, and it's you know, the unclean. Beware. There's a saying in 40k. Beware the alien. Beware the mutant. Beware the heretic. It's because humanity sees it as so fanatically religious.
That anything that's not human.
Anything that's not human is
a problem.
Kill on sight. Yeah. You know, very mistrusting of these alien species. And vice versa. You know, Necromons want to wipe out everything because they think all lesser races are vermin. Eldar very arrogant.
Human mutant. Is the question?
Human mutant, yep. Or gene stealers. You can have like these toxic planets because they're pumping out so much in terms of production. They're just like lakes of just toxic matter, and then like these subhumans they start subsisting on like, you know, underground, and they start to mutate because they haven't really been touched for thousands of years. So these particular strains of human exist.
And even then, if it's not gene stealer, it's just like any mutation. It's like you are not as the Emperor designed. Out you go.
It's kind of like some hive worlds or hive planets, like Necromunda. You have these like. Do you ever see The Descent?
Yes.
There's some planets where, you know, these populations have been deep underground for so many generations. They've just like these new strands of like human have evolved when they're just like mutants. They're just subsisting on this like waste, and it's just unrecognizable.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, just shit like that.
So we've looked at the Tyranids there and like how that's kind of gone across, and little sidetrack into that. So humans don't like human mutants just as much as the enemy. Correct.
There are certain what's the word? Exceptions to human mutants, like the Ogren.
Which one's that?
They're the big, beefy, kind of like an ogre, but a human.
Oh.
So there's this, I don't know what planet it is, but there's another example of human populations been left to their own evolution over thousands of years, and then they've made contact and they are applied in respect to like armies and things. So these things called Ogrins. They're just these huge, enormous humans, dumb as fuck, but strong as shit. Probably worth getting a picture of actually if you can find one.
I will go have a look.
And they're like I don't know if anyone's played the recent game Dark Tide, but I haven't got a PC or an Xbox, so I haven't, unfortunately, but that is very much on my list. I think the Ogryn is a playable character, playable faction. Yeah.
So let's have a look, see if I can grab one.
And they are a mutation.
Oh wow! So Bane.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's drab. Let's do that, and let's drag one in.
But when I say mutation is like a loose word in terms of these, because they have adapted to their planet. And then, we talked about the Great Crusade making or reconnecting with these different planets. So these old human colonies where humans have just been left to their own evolution and adapted to this planet. Nice, good job, by the way.
Oh, that's a link. Save image as. Thanks.
I can do this and talk at the same time.
No, you're absolutely fine. That's kind of why I'm here. You're the one that knows the law, really. So it's more a case of me pulling out of you and trying to do all the tech stuff. Because, you just know it. Yeah. And it's very enjoyable to sit here and have you tell me about it, really. We're going to save that one in there. Browse. And then hopefully this should be an Ogryn. Whoop.
Yeah,
it's not the greatest picture quality, but...
Yeah.
Bane with a club and a shield and...
Ogryns, I think they're known to be almost, if not just as strong as Space Marines, but they're just like these humans that have adapted to a certain environment over thousands and thousands of years. And, they are utilised. They're like special forces in like the Imperial Army,
Oh, where we should now, boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Cool. So...
I hope that answers that question, Dan Track, but yeah, there are human mutants, and there are also mutants that have, like the gene stealer cults. They're mutated from alien strains or just like toxic planets.
Let's have a look. So let's take that one off. And then, so gene stealers, yeah?
Yeah. Gene stealers or gene stealer cults might be a better one.
Yeah, we'll look at some gene stealer cults.
And this is a playable faction, by the way. Gene stealer cults in the tabletop game.
So is this just Necromunda, or is this like full?
This is the full. This can be used in Necromunda, and this is a full playable faction.
I need to bring up a better image than that. Oh, so these are like those very purple-skinned.
Yeah.
Kind of
So like this is like 3 or 4 generations in, and they've mutated. They've overthrown their planetary government, or are trying to. And because of their sort of numbers, they're calling to this hive mind, and this is how, because the Tyranids send out these vanguard organisms, and they've formed these gene stealer cults, and this is how a hive fleet comes across this planet. Not all the time, but it helps if you've got populace.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they literally are a cross between like the Tyranids and humans.
Yeah.
It's like as they're like evolving into this like.
I mean, this is why.
This is the head I see.
Yeah. This is why gene stealer cults are so insidious. Is because in its very early stages, like I said, there are exceptions to mutations and things like that. When a gene stealer populace is like 1 or 2 generations in and starts, the head starts to change color or shape, it's like, oh, it's just another mutant.
Oh, so it's like almost it's so slow it goes unknown.
Yeah.
It's not like a kill on
over
sight.
generations. It could take 50 years, could take 150 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So that's sort of like a brief overview on the Tyranids, or the Tyranids, depending on how you want to say it. I'm going to keep saying Tyranids because that's just how I know it.
I say Tyranids, I say Tyranids. I like to say I say Tyranids, but I always say Tyranids as well.
Yeah, cool. So, as long as there's no
the Great Devourer is a cool name.
The Great Devourer.
The work of the Great Devourer.
I like
this hive mind is, as far as we know, it's one entity, but we don't know what it is. We don't know where it comes from. All we know is that it governs these organisms by means of a psychic synapse.
That's cool.
And
That's
this
very cool.
entity is ancient beyond comprehension. There's like Space Marine accounts of like peering into the eyes of these Tyranid organisms, and just you can't describe this level of like alien sentience, just what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
This could be as old as time itself.
and we just won't know until we either get devoured by it or we.
I think there's one Space Marine librarian. So a librarian is like your potent Space Marine psyker that uses their powers as means of weapons. There's one Ultramarine librarian. Fuck, I've forgotten his name, but he's the only known person to see into the hive mind and retain his sanity.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's pretty mad.
If you're an average psyker or an average sanctioned psyker, powerful as you may be, if you were to peer into the hive mind, you would just catatonic.
Really?
Yeah, complete and utter catatonic or dead.
Wow, that's strong. That's nuts.
So Tyranids.
So
they're awesome.
Yeah, I know. I think they're just absolutely beastie.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll go into what I'm painting now. So this, wait for the drop, is the Tau Empire. So I'm painting up, and I'm going to lift up my nerd goggles first. I'm currently doing trying to start the lenses on all of my drones and my fire carder that are wearing helmets. The Tau, I guess I'll leave the little bit that I know, and I'll bring up a picture. Are a very, very recent addition to the 40k version. That is a Ghost Keel. That's a Crisis battle suit, and they basically
tech. They are very,
very high tech in a very short space of time. So within like only a few thousand years, they went from just learning fire to intergalactic planetary warfare with suits that could rival. Space Marine suits.
They have hooved feet as well.
They do have cloven hooved feet, which if I can show you, I might put it up on the cup cam. But they rely, because they're such a small race, they are smaller than your average baseline human as far as I'm aware. They really do require some help in the armor area. You can probably just make out the hoof on that one there in the shade. Maybe if I bring it up to this one. There's a lot more. There you go.
Nice.
So I've got a lot of layers to go on the skin there, and I've only got a few of the top lines going. You can see those hooves there, and I'll get those done up in a nice brown. A lot of their armour is like all-encompassing, and they are an AI-driven technology, meaning that they use AIs, unlike humans, and they heavily rely on range in the game, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, it's Heretic, really. So the humans, like, especially like the
Adeptus Mechanicus.
Yeah, Adeptus Mechanicus,
which we will talk about one day.
Yeah, they sort of believe in preserving the knowledge, where the Tau are like, let's keep evolving, let's keep advancing, because technology is our greatest asset. They rely heavily on battle suits. In the game, I know that they rely on range. They're pretty shit close up, which is why when they expand their empire, as far as I'm aware from the only book I've read, is that they include races. They don't just kill on sight. They give other races a chance to become part of the Tau Empire. They negotiate.
Is it the water caste that is your diplomatic?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they kind of go in and they're like, oh, here's loads of free stuff, and everyone thinks they're really dumb, and then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, but we've also got these massive mech suits if you want a hand with those local beasts that you've got a problem with. And then all of a sudden the humans on the next world over are like, oh shit, we're being given medical supplies and stuff we don't get from the Imperium.
Yeah.
We'll go join the Tau Empire.
Yeah, Guevesa, is that what they're called?
Guevesa.
I would love to kit bash a Guevesa force. Just these humans with Tau armor.
Well, basically it's one of those and then stick a human head on it.
Yeah.
An Astro Militarium head on it.
Yeah.
Because that's also what I want to do is... get the Farsight and ones like that, and I just think it's really cool, and I really like the idea of doing that. And when it comes to, and I'll probably finish this Combat Patrol before the series is over. If there is a Astro Militarium one, that's probably where I'll go next, because I really like baseline grunts.
There's some of their new minis. They look sick.
Yeah,
they've redesigned the Astro Militarium minis, and they look awesome.
I'll see if I can bring up a picture, because the Astro Militarium is back to the humans again.
Yeah. They're like your trillions and trillions of baseline human soldiers.
That look like they're in futuristic Starship Troopers meets World War II German Nazi armor.
Yeah, that's
it's weird.
That's
like
the Death Corps of Krieg. That's one Astro Militarium faction. We'll have to talk about them at one point. They're pretty cool looking. I always thought they were cool looking, to be honest, but
I do as well. There's
especially they look.
There's like the I remember the Katachan
Yeah,
they were
jungle, your Rambos.
Yeah, they were like Rambo and like Predator kind of style,
Yeah.
80s
Headbands.
movies meets. Oh, here we go. This is a great picture. It's Deviant Art, so I'm not going to bring that one up because I can't credit the artist. Let's go for Warhammer. Damn it, that's so good.
Yeah.
Save that one there, and let's see if we can bring it in. So the Astra Militarum, they literally get shit on. They are basically like, if you're not on a tithe world, and you're not successful in being a space marine because you're dead, you are basically like...
It is the meat grinder.
Yeah, and it quite literally is. Hey, guess what? You're a soldier now.
Yeah.
There is a Tyranid fleet coming. We need you to just... You're not going to win, but we need you to just buy us a little bit of time. Maybe like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So there's 2 billion people sent to die.
Yeah, and they have things called commissars, which is kind of like you... Sort of like World War II era, like Soviet. Like if you try and run away from the lines, this commissar will shoot you because you're a coward, basically.
Yeah.
You see this enormous alien organism just consumed a dozen of your friends, and you run away, and then these commissars will shoot you because you're a coward.
Oh, that's not a great picture quality, but. The joys of trying to do it as we go. And they quite literally are, like, Starship Trooper-esque.
Yeah.
Like, all they've got is a helmet, a chest guard, shoulder pauldrons, boots, and a las cannon. Yeah. And it's just like, Space Marines are in this, like, really thick ceramite?
Ceramite.
Ceramite armour, which is, like, not just bulletproof, everything proof.
Yeah.
Except acid from Tyranids.
Yeah.
And it's like... These guys are like sent to go fight alongside the Space Marines, knowing full well that they're going to get chopped in half.
Yeah. And Space Marines are quite like a mythical, and at least in the 41st millennium narrative.
Yeah, not everybody's seen them, have they?
No, so to see a Space Marine it's quite a privilege. And yeah, most of the time, most conflicts is baseline humans. The worst conflict zones are where you send your Space Marines to deal with like a Necron invasion or whatever. But yeah, not by and large, not all the time. It's just left to baseline humans to, and you have things like Cadia, entire planets dedicated to like just pumping soldiers into the Imperial Army.
They're like your basic training grounds.
Yeah.
So like Cadia is like, we've got like training bases on the UK, but this is like a training planet.
Yeah, which is destroyed now, by the way.
I know, because I was going to bring that up in a future episode, because that was one of the things that I really liked.
Yeah, well,
Cadia stands!
Yeah.
This is just like, get back in there, you fucks. Just like...
I didn't hear no bell.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I really like that story. But, so yeah, back to the Tau. So the Tau were like, before we went on about kit bashing, those guys and these guys together, they're your high-tech space...
Yeah.
Space guys, and they're blue and they look really cool.
We did discuss the caste system, didn't we?
Yeah, so there's like 4. The system is made up of 4 different castes. You've got the Earth caste, which is like your locals, your agricultural,
like
your
builders, just
your general bods. And that's their civilian classification is Earth caste, and then you've got the Air caste, which is their air support and spacefaring navy, which is basically they've all like spent so much time in space or in flight now that their like bones are like hollowed out like birds, and they've like evolved to be just more suited for being on a ship. And a lot of them won't come down to a planet because they can't handle the gravity anymore. Very, very weak strength-wise, but they are the best pilots in the galaxy. They are by far.
They can maneuver because the bones are hollow. The light, they can pull these crazy maneuvers that other species just couldn't.
Then there is the Fire caste, which is your warriors, your attackers, anything that's like your basic grunts right the way up to like big old. So that's like a Fire Carder, so a unit within the Fire caste. Let's get a bit closer. There you go. With its like basic armor and its long range rifle, and then you've got things like your crisis battle suits, which are commanders wear these, and especially one in particular is called Commander Farsight, who is a big hero, like one of the main 4 like commanders of the Tau armies and stuff, along with like Commander Darkstrider, who is a basic stealth kind of commander, I believe. Let's turn that way. So we're doing this with half a screen.
That's cool, man. I've not seen that one, actually.
Have you not?
No.
That's my Dark Strider. I literally went out and picked that one up because I saw somebody painting it on Instagram and I was like...
Oh, dude.
Yeah, I spent the most time on that Mini
that
I've spent on any Mini because I was just... Awesome. I fucking loved the drones.
Yeah, man.
And I loved everything about... I'll try and get it on the cup cam, actually, because...
That's cool.
I'm very proud of
eyes,
that.
Dude.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, I'm very proud of that. Those lenses and eyes were like really kind of like something. So let's see if I can get that light on, actually. It's going to glare off the cup, sorry. Oh, it's not too bad. Let's see if we can...
My face a bit. Tan.
Get a tan. Let's see.
I think I'm actually burn at the moment.
So, this is my Dark Strider. And it's, he's like a stealth commander, I believe, and he like goes in and has these drones that hunt round for him. You can use them with sniper teams or with the these things which are like your stealth battle suits. And that's another thing with the towers, they have stealth technology, which I don't know if other things have. I think there might be some in the Space Marines in the Imperium.
Yeah, I think there are some technologies, but by and large not adopted.
Yeah, and but these guys they're like, okay, Space Marines are pounding us. How can we beat them?
Yeah.
Okay, we stealth and then we shoot from far, or we lay traps. We put people into kill boxes, and then we have like sniper drones, just like do 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 do.
Drones are cool as fuck.
Yeah, and it genuinely is just that's why I liked it. I liked that range fighting.
I love the Tau aesthetic. I think it's one of the coolest looking factions. I did actually nearly buy a Tau army when I was about.
Sorry, I'm from the camera. It's really warm in here, isn't it? It's fucking roasting.
It's quite warm.
There's no fan tonight, and I'm going mad. Yeah, because I think I got you the piranha, didn't I?
Yeah, you did, and I have yet to assemble that, which I must do.
I mean, I'm gutted that you didn't put together that birthday present I got for you 2 years ago. 3 years ago?
Which one was that? The dragon?
No, that was 3 years ago, wasn't it?
No, that was 2 years ago. Which I have half painted.
Anyway, we digress. That's the Tau, and they are this alien race. Let's see who we can get to next, because I realise we've got an hour, and we're actually getting through a base look at them quite well. Nice. So we've spoken a little bit about the Eldar. We've shown them. We've done Chaos.
Dark Eldar?
Yeah, so I guess let's talk about the Dark Eldar, who are now called the...
Drukhari. So this is an image of...
Vampire Elves!
Yeah. Komora. This is your mindfuck of a planet, based in the Webway.
I love these guys.
The pocket dimensions within this city, this Dark Eldar city. If you're not a Dark Eldar and you find yourself in Komora,
buddy, you're not gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
You ski when you pizza. You surprise when you pizza.
You're not coming home this Christmas. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and these guys quite literally are like sadistic, torturing vampire elves.
And they need to do this to survive. They need to appease this thirsty god who just
will kill them if they don't.
Harvests Eldar souls. And, you know, they're constantly fighting the tug of Slanesh, so they need to just kill lesser species. They need to.
You know, sometimes you gotta let it all out. You know, you gotta have a day off. You gotta just skin somebody alive.
Yeah,
it's all about relaxing. You know, and I'm not gonna kink shame anybody.
Like I say, this this Dark Eldar city, Komora, most of Eldar society was like this at one point. This is why Slanesh was born, because just this species, after being on their own, largely on their own for the best part of 60 million years, getting up to some pretty dodgy shit.
Describe to us in detail what this pretty dodgy shit is.
Do I need to?
No. I mean, if you think of the worst possible thing that's not just sexual, but like the most grotesque things that you can think of, because everything else is mundane.
Yeah.
Times it by 1,000, this is what they're doing.
They got bored, basically.
Yeah.
I have to remember that camera angle. Sorry.
That's alright. It's I need to remember to paint tonight, really.
Because it's like, you know, if you're used to a thrill or something like that, next time you do it,
it's not as good.
It's not as good. You need to push it. You need to push that thrill.
Do you? Well, what do you push?
Ah, man. My paintbrush around my minis. So, yeah, after 60 million years, they've pushed it. Yeah.
Pushed it real good.
Oh,
yeah. So yeah, sort of like space elves, but with evil, torturous, medieval tendencies.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, we mentioned the homunculi, which their job is to.
That's how I want to go.
Reanimate a corpse. I don't know if they reanimate them and just torture these poor souls within an inch of their life. Once you can't really, catatonic with torture. Okay, what are we going to do with them? Well,
sit on their face.
Sit on their face. Graft them into a chair, and they will forever remain alive, suffering. And it's like a Dark Eldar sitting on this chair, and it's like, satiated, It's like eating a hot meal.
Imagine just like sucking in the fart of a Dark Eldar. So it's all a whole day eating the blood of the innocent, and you're just like this homunculus. It's just like.
I think the homunculus is the person who does this to lesser species, so that's their name. Like the homunculus is like your mad scientist within the Dark Eldar society.
Wow. Yeah. Well, imagine you're the species furniture, just like, yep. Somebody's not showered today. No, it's more than that, isn't it? It's really gross.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just absolutely.
But in all seriousness, it's quite
it's very dark, and that's why it's called the grim darkness of the far future.
Yeah, they're not kidding.
It really is something else.
So yeah, I think, and they hate, because of what happened to Eldar society. They hate magic. They hate psychic abilities. I think, and I don't actually know the full details, but I think I'm going to call it Komara because it sounds cooler in my opinion. Komara has their own version of, I wouldn't say the Golden Throne, but there's some sort of barrier stopping chaos from pouring into their city or their home planet. I think they are known to have stolen an STC of humanity, and this STC could cure any and all diseases. So yeah, that's why we hate them.
STCs, for anybody who hasn't seen one of the previous shows, was covered a little bit before, and these are like AIs that were around in the golden age of man. I think Alex was telling me that basically, like, you turn up on a planet, you go, "I've got a problem. This is what do we do?" And the computer thinks of like the most efficient and best possible way, and then gives you all of the.
Yeah, they could have had various forms. So they could have been that. They could have been these enormous 3D printers, computers. They could have just been like a toolbox that gives you this information, prints you out these blueprints, tells you where to collect these resources based on the planet you're on, and
Generally thought you said STDs after the sex race talk. In all fairness, STDs to the Dark Eldar, not a problem. Collect them all, like Pokemon. Just like, gotta catch them all.
I'm sure the Tyranids would love the biomass.
Yeah.
Viruses. Well, I guess, gene sealer cults will be an STD.
I guess so, yeah. It's like to the Tyranids' way of breeding.
Multiply and conquer. Multiply and... Yeah.
So, where are we at with the races? Let's have a look at the list, because we want to try and get through quite a few of them. So that's the Dark Elves, and they're like really, really nasty. And I suppose it kind of like...
They basically go around the galaxy raiding these planets. An Imperial planet, they will raid an Imperial planet, enslave the population, or enslave one half of the population, kill the other half to appease their lusts, and take them back to Komara, do all manner of horrible shit to them. You don't want to be raided by a Dark Eldar.
Yeah.
Or your planet does not want to be raided.
I imagine it's the kind of thing where like you see them coming, it's like, just shoot yourself.
Yeah.
Just get it done, because if you don't, death is the only good option here.
The sort of sportsman trophy hunting raid where they would just kill for the fun of it, kill for the thrill, basically. Kind of like your orcs, but your orcs are very different.
Well, the orcs are designed to do it, and that's just like war is power.
Yeah.
From what you were saying, whereas like the Dark Eldar, the Drukhari are like Drukhari. Sorry, I'm never going to get that right. Are like, you know what? Need to raid, need to appease Slanesh, but we may as well enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think becoming a slave of them is...
And, they have survived in this way for thousands of years. And I don't think they're going to stop anytime soon.
We've got to try everything once.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the Dark Eldar, I guess. And I suppose we'll start looking at like different things of those later on. Maybe look at some minis and stuff like that. I guess I've held you off long enough. What's your favourite fantasy race, Alex? Dwarves. And the dwarves are in Age of Sigmar and in Fantasy Warhammer, but they haven't been around in...
no, not really.
In 40k. Why is that?
I think it was a bit of a sort of, a bit of a gimmick. space dwarves. It's a hard sell if you're trying to push the grim dark of the far future.
And you've got Diggy Diggy Hole going on in the background.
Yeah, you've got like steampunk stuff like. Well, they've done it now.
Yeah.
They've done it now.
And what are these called?
The Leagues of Votann. So they are your most recent faction in the 40k universe. We're talking the last 12 months, the last 24 months maybe.
I remember you were super excited because they released it on an April Fool's, didn't they?
They did.
And then it turns out it was real.
Yeah. They released an April Fool's trailer, and then the next day, they were like, "No, we're serious. By the way, we're gonna introduce this." And so yeah, let me take you through what the Leagues of Votann are. So they're essentially your space dwarves. They are a human
evolution.
Well, I'll have to get into the meat of this. So they are
dwarves like me.
Yeah, they like dark. They like mining. And these are your typical miners, your dwarves. They are your space dwarves. So they do share a common ancestor with humanity, obviously, because they are a mutation of that. They trace their origins back to this like golden age of man, where the solar exodus, where humanity just like branched out into the galaxy. And these are really interesting because they're basically all clones.
Are they?
Yeah, they are. They all kind of like have their own unique genetic makeup, but they are clones, and they are gestated in these things called, I think they are the Votann. They're basically, we don't really know what the Votann are because the Leagues, your average citizen is called kin. So the kin...
Dwarfkin. It's an old fantasy thing, yeah.
So the kin make up these different leagues, and all these leagues are the Leagues of Votann. And what are the Votann? I think there are several of them. They are quite mysterious. They might be ancient STCs that the Imperium doesn't know about. And the reason I say that is because these contain all the information to like clone and produce weaponry and things like that. But they're so old that they're now beginning to fail. It's like having a million apps open on your phone. Your phone starts to crash. That's kind of what they're going through now in the current narrative.
So they have shown up in the narrative then?
Yeah. So I don't think they're in the Black Library just yet. So like the novels or the novella of Games Workshop. I'm digressing so far.
No, keep going. Because I know nothing of these, and I know that you like dwarves, and I know that you were really excited by these when we first talked about doing a show like this so long ago, and you were like, I'm going to get those, and then you got Tyranids, which is hilarious.
And Necrons.
And Necrons.
And you gave me some Tau, and...
and I was like, I'm going to get the Tau combat. Yeah, and... I was going to say, like, and you were just so excited by them, and I just, I know nothing about them.
They look sick as fuck. I love dwarves, and I love space dwarves. And, they wear power armor, and they're very tough, because they exist in the galactic core. Their empire is, and they're separate to the Imperium.
What is the galactic core?
So, think of just the core of the galaxy. Sorry, I don't mean to be...
No, patronise me, because I don't know. So, and, like... Hopefully, if I learn something, then maybe somebody else up there will learn something.
So, existing in your galactic core, and I mean the galactic core.
So, like the centre of the Milky Way, where the black hole is?
Centre of the Milky Way, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they're able to live in the galactic core because of their squat makeup. They're very strongly built. They're very skilled. They're very adaptable because they've been made that way. And in the galactic core, you've got dense stars. Gravitical anomalies.
That's a big word.
Nightmare navigation. Well, causes havoc to navigational systems. So the galactic core isn't really explored that very much in terms of the Imperium or other races.
And these guys have shown back up out of him and like, yo!
Yeah, and we think... I like to, and this is my own interpretation, I think they are descendants of the Men of Stone.
See, now... That, for me, as a dungeon master, would make sense.
Yeah.
So in terms of D&D, because obviously, like, D&D and Pathfinder, you can get things like stone cunning for dwarves, which means that, like, they just know everything about stone, because that's the point. They mine, they work with stone, and that's their whole thing.
Yeah.
So when you tell me in a previous episode about the Fluffy, I also don't know. Yeah, and that's the point, is that like Alex is here to teach us. So when you talk about the Men of Stone, and this was like worker, what we think is like worker bots from what
I
you were
like
saying.
to think of like humans, but maybe like sort of more in line with like your replicants, your manufactured humans.
So could the Votan be the Men of Stone?
I would like to believe. I think they are a version of, after thousands and thousands of years, because they've adapted to this where they are. They're cloned.
Because that would make sense. Because from like a golden age of technology for me, where like everyone's like, well, we can do whatever the fuck we want. You know? So like, let's just genetically engineer some humans and then just keep cloning them.
And this is why the Men of Gold wanted to make these Men of Stone, this new branch of humanity, because they could only go so far because they couldn't adapt to all these various environments in the galaxy. And the Leagues of Votan, they are adapted, and it only makes sense that they would be these Men of Iron. At least in what I like to think, anyway.
This is where we're back to interpretation, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and so something you said in a previous episode is that like a lot of the 40k narrative and a lot of the 40k lore is open to interpretation, and you can take the bits that you want and interpret it your way. And I actually really like the idea that they are the Men of Stone, because for me, narratively, and again, I know so little in comparison, and you know so much. But even from the outside,
I do get a lot of things wrong, though. I do actually pick up on some of my mistakes.
And again, anybody out there who thinks Alex gets it wrong, he will give you his home address and you can come hit him.
Yeah.
No, don't hit Alex if you see him. Just hug him, please. I don't want somebody walking up to me like, you didn't tell me to hit you.
Yeah.
Because I really like you, and I don't want to see you hurt, baby.
Moving on.
Yeah, so I think I like that kind of like, this is what it could be.
I kind of like that interpretation because in my mind it does make sense. Bearing in mind they're thousands of years, thousands of generations removed from that dark age of technology.
So they might not even have their own knowledge of that.
No. They... What was I going to say? They do share... Obviously they share a common ancestor. They know of humans. They trade with some humans. They think the Imperium is very... They're mistrustful of the Imperium because of the way the Imperium looks down on like
other races,
other mutations. I think they're quite secretive. They don't really talk about the Votan very much. They trade with the Tau. They trade with the Eldar, I think. They trade with humanity as well.
So they're another one that is quite open to other races. Then they're not as xenophobic.
They're very insular, but they're not against trade with other races, so long as those other races don't pose hostilities. I think they call Tyranids the Bane. I think their biggest enemy are the Orcs. Yeah. Because Orcs are just infest systems.
It's cool.
They're just a cool... Yeah, and their technology, like because of like the galactic core is so mineral dense, they are very technologically advanced. They have access to these like technologies because they are able to. These minerals, these like exotic minerals, are in abundance in the galactic core because of like the way
gravity works.
Yeah, just.
So that's cool. So does it like pull on? Because I know that obviously we're talking about a science fiction thing here.
Yeah.
And I guess in certain ways, do they pull on like real kind of science to then bring it into like a fictional science?
Yeah, so I think they do have their psychics, or at least they have.
Oh, I meant the lore in general. I meant like there's like Games Workshop actually use like real science and then tries to adapt it into a.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And it's kind of like science fiction. You know, you can kind of, if you vaguely justify something, it sounds cool.
Yeah, cool. It's like, again, like stick a word in something. It's like, it's a space plane. Yeah. It's an astral ship. It's justifying that kind of thing.
And like the Votan, I was going to say, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
That's all right. If anybody wants to remind it, Men of Stone.
Men of Stone. Because they're cloned and these STs, at least these Votan, which, in my opinion, are very similar in description to STCs. I just think there's...
So Votan is something mythical that we don't know. It's not like somebody is like...
these machines, because they're the sort of like the pillars of the society, the Leagues of Votan, and the Votan, I think there's several of them. They do actually act as like the Astronomicon, like the Emperor's beacon within the warp.
Oh, cool.
I think they themselves act as beacons. And the Votan, they are the Leagues of Votan. They have a more advanced form of warp travel. Because, let's not forget, and I can't emphasize this enough again, the level of technological understanding in the Dark Age of Humanity.
Golden Age
of Humanity. They had a technological, and everything is kind of sloppy now. So like warp travel is kind of sloppy. You have things called the Mandeville point where you would re-enter real space. You have to do it far away from a system because of the conflicting energies. Whereas like in the Golden Age of Humanity,
you don't need to.
We understood the technologies. We finessed it. It's very sloppy now in comparison.
And that's because we've lost all of those STCs, and now only like fragments of the STCs are found. So we're like, okay,
Votan, they have access to this. At least if it's not an STC, they have access to this knowledge, and yeah, their technological understanding is in many ways superior to the Imperium.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's
so
cool as fuck.
Are the Imperium like kill on sight?
So this is why the Votan, or this is why the Leagues of Votan are mistrusting of this superstitious, religious empire, because they do have these attitudes to mutants. There are kin who do work alongside humans. They fight alongside them, kind of like guns for hire, mercenaries, rogue traders. Yeah, so by and large, they don't really interact with the Imperium, but they're known to the Imperium. Maybe not necessarily their central galactic empire, but they're kind of like the Imperium see them as just another mutation sort of thing, but they have their uses, kind of like the Ogrin.
Oh, okay, so it is kind of like we could use you.
Yeah, you know, like, guns for hire, that kind of thing. What was your question? Sorry, I completely forgot.
It was more a case of like, were they a kill on sight race? Were they a threat to the?
There is that, and then there's also where, because of the mistrust, that I imagine there have been cases where it is kill on sight, and they don't really want to share, because this is another thing. So there are these things called the Iron Kin, which they stand as equals in Leagues of Votan society, and they are AI.
Oh, really?
They are 100% pure AI that are given equal citizenship in Votan society.
So this could be like the Men of Iron.
Yes, or a descendant of, or a variation of.
And I think that takes us back to like the lore and stuff, where like we look at like naming things as humans, and we often give things names that don't quite reflect.
Yeah.
So it's like, calling something the Men of Stone and the Men of Iron could be metaphorical.
Yeah.
So literally could be like, a man of stone is like made to be like stone and like take the gravity, and Men of Iron could be like
Men of Gold is like enlightened and philosophical. Yeah. And if the Mechanicum ever caught wind of this, because the Mechanicum, because of this, what was it called? 40k is very heavily inspired by Dune, the Dune universe. So like the Butlerian Jihad, I think it's called in the Dune. This robot uprising, the cybernetic revolt is what it's called in the 40k universe. And because of this cybernetic revolt, AI is strictly outlawed. In fact, it's not called artificial intelligence, it's called abominable intelligence. But unbeknownst to the Imperium, the Votan, or the Leagues of Votan, they have AI, like the Tau.
Yeah. Because I know that they're humans, the Space Marines are like, they've got AIs, fucking kill them with the Tau.
Yeah.
They're just like, nope, they are not allowed near us. They are a sacrosanct to the machine god.
Heretic.
That's
what they call it.
To the machine god, which is what the Mechanicum worships, but also what they think the Emperor is. Because he brought about fragments of STCs back to be like, right, here's Space Marine armor, here's a bolt gun.
Yeah. They call him the Omnisire. They believe he's this messiah of the machine god.
But he wasn't
the living avatar.
And he wasn't like, I'm not a fucking god, you're going to die, or I'm going to kill your planet. He was like, you know what? I need your technology, so I'll let you guys go.
And he probably, like, there are theories as to, like, if there was a conflict between the Emperor and Mechanicum, maybe the Emperor would come out on top, but he would lose a lot.
Yeah.
He would lose a lot of
resources. Because that's all of the technology, really.
Because the Martian society was relatively sheltered in terms of they had their age of strife and they came out on top because they had these titans. We have discussed titans that fought these psychic demons. They're very mistrusting of the Imperium for this reason, because they know that the Mechanicum has these attitudes to their artificial intelligence.
Well, I suppose as well, if they are from an STC and they are from a time of man where it was like all about science and not about religion, they would know that like religion was the issue, and the Emperor was trying to get rid of religion. Maybe they were around at that time that the Emperor was trying to purge religion. Then all of a sudden now it's a hyper religion, and they're like, hang on a minute, hang on.
And as well, they don't want to share the fact that they have these Votan, because it sounds remarkably similar to an STC, and the Votan, or the Leagues of Votan, rely on these machines, but they're failing now because they've been active for so many, whatever they are, whether they're STCs or other.
So are they on the hunt for more of these, or is it like a?
They're kind of they're seeking answers, because I think it's got to the point now where like you would make a query and it may take centuries to get an answer.
Oh wow.
And because of the Great Rift as well, tearing its way through the galactic core as well as the fringes of the galaxy.
And that's the Eye of Terror?
Yeah.
No.
This is what the Eye of Terror has become. The Cicatrix Maledictum is a galaxy-spanning warp storm. Kind of what was similar to the Horus Heresy, but is now rife.
So, Dantrak, has a race faction ever been introduced that hasn't gone down well with Warhammer fans? Everything and nothing.
Everything and nothing, I don't know.
I guess that's kind of like, as far as I'm aware, anytime you bring something new out, you're going to have people who are like, yes, more content. Yeah. And other people who are like, well, this is dumb.
Yeah, and I think I fall into the not the latter. What's it? The other one.
This is dumb?
No.
No, this is content.
This is content. Yeah.
And I
this is dumb. I love content. I think the more the merrier. The more content, the more lore you can add to something.
So, and this is where I come from a different thing with this one, and it's I don't know if I've said it on this show before. I've certainly said it on other shows that I've done with people. Is Star Wars is a big thing for me.
Yeah.
And I just freaking love getting new content. And I know that some of it's good and some of it's bad. And for example, like when the prequels first came out, I remember going to the cinema to see those.
I saw the Phantom Menace in cinema.
Yeah, I saw all three of them at cinema, and I remember thinking, I was really young, but I was like, this is fine. But then I sort of jumped on the toxic hype train of like, oh no, it was really bad.
I did as well, and I don't know why.
Yeah, because I actually really liked them.
I really like the Phantom Menace.
I really like the Clone Wars, and
I do as well.
And all the Dave Flames. But the point that I'm trying to make is that Disney then bought it, and a lot of people were like, no, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. And I was like, we are going to get content.
Yeah.
We are going to get them pumping money into a franchise that wasn't going to get it anyway.
This is what you said something.
So like treat it like a menu.
Yeah.
You go to a restaurant and you don't go, do you know what I really don't like? Tripe.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the tripe.
yeah.
Unless you want to try it. So you ignore that bit and you go, you know what, I don't necessarily need that bit, it's there and I will draw on it if I need to, but actually I'm going to take this back and I'm just going to pick the bits I want from the menu.
Yeah, and it's to be inclusive, isn't it? It's
Yeah, the other thing is that, and take the sequels for Star Wars as my example here, I didn't particularly like the sequels, because I just felt they were a bit rushed and a bit too samey.
Yeah.
But they were trying to be nostalgic / rebooty / set up what is going to be a new story arc with Rey. And we know that now because we know the new Rey films are coming out with her new Jedi Order. However, my kids really like them.
Yeah.
And it's not about us anymore. It's about the next generation. So as Warhammer brings out more stuff and more content, yes, some of it is going to be for the older fans and for people to finish stories like the Heresy, but actually stories moving on once that last book of the Heresy's done.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they're setting up the Gulliman arcs and him like being friends with other people. Spoilers.
Other races
and being like, you know what? I know the Emperor is all about like killing everyone, but right now we need the help because the Tyranids are coming.
Yeah.
And it's all about the next generation of fans. And actually, you know, you can dislike something all you want. They're still going to bring out content.
Yeah.
Whether a company listens to people and gets, you know, the majority happy with their content, that's a different thing. But take what you like and leave the rest.
To my understanding, I don't think there ever has been a specific faction that has been or received a backlash, to my knowledge.
Destiny has had some backlash, but it seems to have settled since the initial backlash. I said backlash too many times. Don't worry about it. I say like a lot, and Alex says basically.
Yeah.
So I think once we hopefully we hit affiliate, we'll get some emojis that's like every time I say like and every time you say basically, just come up in chat. So I think that'd be quite fun. So basically.
Yes. Yeah, like so. Yeah, I hope that answers you. Sorry, it's quite a vague answer to that question, but for myself, you were very good. I don't think there's ever been a faction that received a specific backlash from the fans. I suppose you have your favourites and you have your least favourites.
But I mean, I know that a lot of people hate the Tau. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's silly. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Gundam suits.
It took me a long time to get my head around the orcs in the 40k universe, but then I was like, Alex, they're fucking orcs. They're cool as fuck.
I was that way with dwarves. Not for the 40k verse, but just races in general. Because I've always liked halflings, I've always liked gnomes, I love goblins.
Yeah.
But dwarves, I was like, yeah, it's not really for me. And then, like, I was just so wrong.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings opened that up for me. And, you know.
I love 40k orcs now. I think they're great. They're very tongue-in-cheek, you know. We talked about, like, the way they talk, and they're just, like, these big guns, big vehicles, big axes. I just love them. I think they're great. They fit in really well. I don't know where I was going with that, but
yeah, I think it's just people liking and disliking different. Literally set up to make you think it was a joke. Oh no, sorry. There's a message before that. I found it interesting that Space Dwarves were an April Fool's release, so opinions must have been wild. Literally set up to make you think it was a joke. Yeah, and it was.
Yeah, it was. And it was because I think they did exist in the 40k universe in its very early stages. So we're talking like early to mid 80s, whenever 40k came out. The dwarves in 40k were a thing, but they kind of got rid of them, and there's this whole there's a whole discussion on this, like as to why they got rid of them, and then they were kind of like,
oh, you shared that with me, didn't you? It was they basically went, they look too derpy.
Yeah,
we can't get it right.
Yeah, I think Warhammer Fantasy existed before 40k, and they kind of wanted to branch those factions over, like with the Eldar, the Orcs, and they kind of wanted to do it with the Dwarves, but they just couldn't really make it work because it was almost a bit too silly. Because they would just be like literally, and I think fucking awesome, but they would just be like your hairy bikers, you know, your Ray-Ban wearing gun wielders.
So I suppose actually, that probably did receive the most backlash.
Yeah.
Because people were just like, no, you've just made dwarves in this setting, and it doesn't quite work aesthetically because they didn't design the models very well.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like power armor and dwarf runes.
Not only have they redesigned the whole aesthetic, they've written it into the lore, in my opinion, quite well. Because like the Leagues of Votan and the mystery of what that is, and the galactic core, and
it's cool.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I forgot what my point was.
Oh no, I think we were talking about the backlash of different races and stuff.
Yeah.
So I suppose we should really look at orcs then. Really, I actually haven't got any images there, so I'm going to go grab an image because I realise it's now 9:30. So let's have a look at orcs 40k. Art and see if we can drag some of these into the show, because these are like a really dominant race at a table. I think a lot of people play these from what I've seen. I see them a lot in Games Workshop windows when I go past. So yeah, I think I'm gonna get you to talk a bit about those because I think they're quite important. So who are the orcs?
So the orcs, as we discussed in an earlier episode, were a creation of the Old Ones. They were a means to an end, so they looked very different back then, but now they've evolved into these sort of warring, tribal-like brute force monsters. Not much of a cohesion in terms of their society. Very hierarchical. Very, the stronger survives, that kind of thing.
And these were designed specifically to fight in their early days.
They were designed to be able to just weld things together, I guess. There's a lot of mystery behind the Krork, is what they were called when they were first created, but after 60 million years, they've just evolved into these... They're called greenskins by the Imperium. Green skin invasion. And they are ultra-violent, warring race.
And you talk about like just welding stuff together. You quite literally mean like they can get a bit of junk and they can make something barbaric out of it. Yeah.
And they'll ride it into human forces or whatever. And they're all about speed. So I keep going back to like Mad Max. You sort of like your roaring engines, like come on, and you just plow into the enemy. That sort of thing. I just think that's so cool. They're awesome, man.
I'm going to try and bring up some images, so just give me 2 seconds. Waffle!
They
Waffle harder!
They kind of like, they're very piratey, they'll raid these planets, not in terms of like slaves and things like that, they just go in there for the fight. They've got like pirate fleets that go around just like attacking these Imperial fleets, I'm not really attacking, just like slamming into them. They just want to fight.
That guy's got like a massive like mechanical gripping claw.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And like they just quite literally like will just jump into a fight because they just love it.
So the reason they're so warring is because they survive. The more they fight, the stronger they get. So their entire existence is based on warfare, warring factions. And I think the longer an orc is alive, or the harder or the more they fight, the bigger and stronger they will get as an individual. And you have these things called orc wars, weerk, which is kind of like you just...
Big festivals.
Your crusade, your orc crusade. If you generate enough bloodshed and anarchy, it's like more orcs will join the fight because there's a really good fight here in this system. That gets bigger and bigger, and then you've got an orc war, which is just like an orc crusade that like the Imperium has to deal with, and it's like an orc infestation. It's because they just constantly warring. Peace is like utterly incomprehensible to them because it's what they're built for.
Yeah, so they're just doing what they are supposed to do. Kind of like the Tyranids. In some ways, I guess it's the most least evil of the races.
Yeah.
Because although they are all about war and they are all about destruction or the great devouring, they are quite literally just doing what they do.
What it is they're supposed to do. Yeah.
And like that's the whole point of their race. So they are acting perfectly within their creation.
Yeah.
Whereas humans have obviously evolved and then devolved technologically.
Yeah.
And the Tau have only evolved, and something I didn't cover with the Tau is the fact that they were nothing.
Yeah.
They hated each other, they warred, they were just like clans of fire cast, like, just basically, there's another one over there, get him!
Yeah.
And then...
I think it was the Ethereals that stopped that, didn't they?
Yes, because all of a sudden, these Ethereals came about, and they don't have psychic ability, whereas the Orcs do.
Yeah.
Whereas the Orc wargs, as far as I'm aware, if enough Orcs get together, they can like summon demons and they can like
it's
break through into the warp.
It's not really like in terms of demons. It's like they make something real. So it's very.
And the more of them are there,
the
easier that becomes.
So like, it's very difficult to explain. But
you could get a box and be like, that flies.
Yeah.
And if enough of them believe it, it's just a flying box.
And this works in the Imperium's favour sometimes as well. There's this legend, Commissar Yarrick. We came across this orc boss. He killed this orc boss. So all these orcs believed that this Commissar Yarrick can't be killed. So he became this like mythical legend within orc society. He's unkillable, and he just wasn't. He was never killed because the orcs believed that he would kill them first. They would just die. It's ludicrous, but it's 40k. It's silly, but that's why we love it.
But that's the point of the orcs, is they do bring that kind of like silliness to the narrative.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the orcs then. They're this warring faction of a race. Who else haven't we covered so far?
The Mechanicum.
Okay, so I'll go look for some Mechanicum. Alex, who are the Mechanicum in 40k?
The Mechanicum, or the Adeptus Mechanicus, now that they're called, there's things like the Dark Mechanicum, which sided with Horus during the Horus Heresy, and the Loyalists became the Adeptus Mechanicum. They're your Martian society. They're your religious in terms of their, how do I describe them? So they worship technology, basically. They have these things called tech priests, where they covet knowledge, and they are very careful not to share knowledge, and they augment their own bodies because they want to survive for longer, because they want to retain this knowledge. So your average Mechanicum citizen will become just like, within the span of their lifetime, will just become this machine, but they're just these heavily augmented humans that have this like...
And this isn't like new technology they're evolving, it's like only technology they know about.
Yeah, rediscovered. There are like one or two exceptions to like invention, but we'll get to those characters at some point.
Because that is particularly the Black Carapace, isn't it?
Yeah, well, things like Belisarius Call, so like the new tech priest, or the tech priest in the current narrative, where he's like inventing new things as a means to like help reboot Gilliman. We'll get to that.
Yeah, okay, we'll get to that then.
But by and large, they covet knowledge. They are extremely, extremely against invention and innovation, because they believe that it's all a matter of rediscovery. Yeah, and they worship this being called the Machine God, which is like the perfect form is the machine form, and they want to sort of like get to that a glimpse of what that Machine God is. So they believe in like augmenting their bodies, giving themselves bionics, having like, and they by the end of their lifespans they have like giga understanding of functions, because they retain this knowledge within their own bodies, so like hard drives and things like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry, that last image was not very good. So
Sorry.
This way. So this is,
and they are very like tech priests.
That's a tech priest.
That's a tech priest, yeah.
And so like you can see that like we've got like these like pincer arms up here, and I think I actually a long time ago I kit bashed a Y-wing for Star Wars X wing miniatures, and I had it like painted all brown, and I had a tech priest arm on top of it, and it was like a Y-wing Jawa junker that I made.
Oh, sweet.
It was pretty sick.
Yeah. They look cool. I love the AdMech. They look cool as fuck.
But you can see all of this technology around them. Then this candle that symbolises the religion.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And
I really like that.
Yeah, they're cool, man. And red the colour of Mars.
Because they were on Mars.
Their home planet is Mars, the Forge world of Mars. They exist on these Forge worlds, they're called, where they're just like dedicated to the manufacture of these colossal machines like Titans. You're going to have to get a picture of a Titan, man.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's sorry. It's kind of what I'm here for, really. And people want to see images.
Titans, they come in different forms, but they are your god machines. They are Titans. Your walking...
planet killers or something like that. It's planet purgers or something?
Yeah. The colossal piloted machines. And they have these... Oh, God, they're so cool. Enormous weapons that can obliterate a city in the blink of an eye. Eviscerate hordes of enemies at one command. And these are very much, they fall in league with the tech priests of Mars. They're sort of like maintained. I think they might be built, but I don't think they're like built from scratch. I think they're like STC templates constructed from those kind of things.
Wow.
Yeah, they look cool as fuck, man. So this is how Mars was able to get on top after the Age of Strife. They were able to like fight off these like demonic creatures or these like aliens with these titans. Yeah, that's cool, man.
Let's grab this one here.
So yeah, and they have these like war horns as well, and these are the biggest ones are hundreds and hundreds of stories high. I think, and they have like, because it's a religion, they have like entire cathedrals on their back, housing the staff that are whose job is to keep this titan functioning. Yeah. It's cool.
I think there is a mini, isn't there?
There is, yeah.
Titan
and
Cathedral.
Titanicus is another tabletop game, which is you fight as the Titans. See, there you go. That's the... I can't remember the classes now, but there are very many different classes of Titan, from big to small. The biggest ones are colossal.
I'm trying to find one of the miniature for it, because it's fucking cool.
Yeah. Oh, there was like a 6-foot mini as well, or something like that. Somebody's actually like printed. Yeah.
I'm just trying to find any of them. There we go. Let's do that one. Imperator class.
Yeah, I think that might be your biggest one actually, Imperator. And that is like your cathedral, shoulder-mounted cathedral. And, you know, they have guns coming out of their legs. Yeah, they are enormous. Yeah.
That's stupid.
It is stupid, but it's great.
It's so, yeah, exactly. And that is a full cathedral with a massive gun. I mean,
Yeah.
like, obviously tabletop size, a miniature's about the size of one of its toe, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then...
Maybe even smaller.
But in the narrative, these things are...
Colossal.
Skyscrapers.
Colossal, yeah. Do you know, I think I've dry brushed all my Tyranids now.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to show them off?
Sure.
So, obviously, you've been going through dry brushing some Tyranids, and I have been painting up some Tau. And while we've got 20 minutes left, Titan minis, it should be a few feet tall. Way ahead of me. Yeah, and I think there's another one I've seen somewhere, and it's ridiculous. It's... I'll try and find an image for another week or another time, or we'll try and like...
I know which one you mean, yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, I think it might be at Warhammer World or something like
Yeah.
that, and we should really go there at some point, and you can point everything out to me and
Well,
show
I
me
might
what
be going
things
there
are.
for my stag do.
Oh, Alex is getting married.
Oh. Yeah. What was I going to say?
That's very cool.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. So if you guys want to come to Alex's stag do, it's going to be at Warhammer World, and you're all invited. I'm not the best man,
No.
because somebody's got a brother.
Well, actually, no, it's not my brother. It's you know my best man. You've met before. You know Nick.
I know Nick.
Yeah. Best man.
Oh,
Yeah.
really sweet.
Anyway, enough about me. Yeah, Titans.
What's your bank account number and PIN code?
Let me show you my card.
Guys, if you had a screen grab of this, it's not
yeah.
my paintbrush, yours.
That's mine.
Okay,
So
cool.
That's my
Right.
dry brush.
No, I just I didn't know if I was leaving brushes about. Yes, that's sort of the Mechanicum, and have we missed out any races there? And again,
we probably
these
have
are...
Necrons. We have.
Oh, Necrons! Let's look at Necrons. So, obviously, we spoke about the Necrons in a few episodes because they were one of the earliest races in the narrative.
Yeah.
And you talked about how they were asked the old ones for help, but the old ones were like, "Fuck off, mate.
Yeah.
We're immortal. You're not.
Yeah.
You go back to your radiated planet and you die."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, okay." And then these Catan
Yes.
came along.
The real space gods, or the gods of real space.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you ever watch Stargate?
Yes.
You know the ancients in Stargate?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
sort of like incomprehensibly advanced relative to everything else. I think it was like the old ones were basically your ancients, didn't want to involve themselves in other sentient beings' evolution. So kind of like turned them down and then just developed this animosity.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a sick image.
Well, I'm trying to get it so that it's not just a horrible JPEG.
Yeah, they look cool. They are... So at one point they were a biological race, a sentient biological race, and then they were enslaved by means of something called the biotransference, which is basically your Catan gods, in a nutshell, promised them immortality by means of these metallic bodies. And as soon as this biotransference occurred, 99.9% of the Necron tier population just became these non-sentient drones. Just these slaves to the Catan. their souls probably consumed. So now they're just these cold machines. Dude, they look so sick. What happened there?
That's alright, it's just I need to change the box size because it's a thing.
They are sort of like cold, skeletal, haunting machines.
They are Terminators. So, as someone who doesn't know much about 40k, obviously you know the narrative and you know that they were given, like, promised something like immortal bodies to war against the old ones, and actually what they meant was, we're going to take your souls away, we're going to eat those, you're going to be stuck in metal bodies, and you're going to be our drones.
Yours as our slaves,
Yeah, and so those of us outside, if you want to play Terminators, these are the guys.
And their aesthetic is like the green glow. That's their technology, because they have this like mastery of like metaphysics and real space understanding, these like cosmic processes. But you can give them any paint scheme. So I'm kind of tempted to go with red.
Nice.
For mine, so like Skynet red.
Yeah, that's cool. Because I've seen some people with pink ones, and I was like,
yeah, pink looks great.
Oh my god, that's amazing! And
pink looks awesome. Blue looks awesome.
Why I'm doing pink on like some of mine, because I really like pink on minis. Like, and not enough people do it. And I've got like the neon tufts on there. And yes, if I was to do Necrons, I would definitely have some of those. I forget how much I like those bases.
Yeah, awesome.
I need to finish those off at some point soon. So they're like your Terminator race, and they are as ancient as the old ones, and older than the Imperium of Man, even older than mankind itself, like by billions of years. I think you told us in that like second or third episode.
Oh, what's that?
Join my Stargate Twitch channel coming soon. It's just me watching Stargate for decades.
Yeah, great. I'll watch.
Yeah, I'm in. Dan Drake.
Stargate.
Yeah, same. Did you ever watch Atlantis?
Yes.
I only watched a bit of it. I didn't actually go that far.
That's great.
I was, and I'm sure it is, but I was like, I think I just left home at that point, and like, I was like so heavily invested into the film and then into SG1, and oh man, I just loved it.
Yeah.
Right
Stargate Atlantis. Stargate Universe was the latest one they did, but they cancelled it. This was like 2009, 2010.
I didn't see that.
That was awesome.
Oh, cool. Anyway.
Yeah. Robert Carlyle was in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That
great.
Makes no sense.
I know.
I like Stargate, but yeah, and I think that these have that kind of like.
Well, that's like you think of in terms of like similar to your Webway, the Stargate. It's not quite the way it works in Stargate, where it's like instantaneous.
No, because there's actually a world inside.
Yeah,
that,
you enter the Webway, and then you traverse the Webway, and then you come out the other side.
Nice.
It's kind of like that inspiration for it.
Yeah. So you said you've finished dry brushing all of your Tyranids, and I suppose we haven't really spoken much about painting today. And in all fairness, it's kind of just a paint hangout, really. We're not going to be able to really teach you that much in terms of techniques and stuff. And I was going around trying to paint lenses, and that's something I might go over in future things. Yeah. But I'm just putting a base layer of pink onto those lenses, and then I'm going to start using some shades and stuff to go over them, and there you go. So you can just see that pink, very dark there, because it is the contrast magenta. What this works as is a very fantastic shade. Yeah. Because what I will do is I will go in and I will layer up the bottom of the lens, and the top of the lens I'll do with a very, very watered down black, very watered down, and then I'll do a line of orange in there as well somewhere, and then some white. But we'll go through that separately and how I do that on another week, because like I'm just trying to get these to the point where I can start really going in on the details.
Yeah.
However, Alex has finished dry brushing the entirety of the combat patrol.
Everything pretty much now requires a last wash and then some accents, which I might go with because I looked at the colour wheel. A lot of them are sort of like red based, and I think.
Do you have a colour wheel? I don't even look at one of those.
No, I just googled.
Nice. No, I'm really bad for not knowing how colour works.
Yeah, I just think maybe like an opposite accent, maybe like a bit of blue or like a greenish blue. I've got several blues here.
So you're going to try and get that into like the weapons, or are you going to like...
I'll probably go like around the very edge of like the...
Carapace.
Carapace, yeah.
Nice.
Not the carapace, the... I don't know what you call it.
Which bit?
The top bit there.
Yeah, it's a carapace.
Yeah,
like the hard shell.
Yeah. Oh, I thought the carapace was like the ribs.
No, carapace is usually the shell of something.
Oh, okay.
And then because you could do like the tongue and like the carapace and like just like little details.
Like,
and like the eyes and stuff. Or you could even use the Tesseract glow on the eyes.
Oh yeah,
that could be quite good. I'm not going to tell you how to paint.
But I still kind of want them to.
You guys can.
Yeah.
You tell Alex how to paint it, because I.
Start again. This time, don't embarrass yourself.
No, I think they're going to look really good, because I'm not going to lie. I got a little bit lazy with my line work, so you'll be able to see that like on top of there, and I'll actually show you. I did one where I spent loads of time doing it, and another one where I didn't. There we go. So like that's... Can't focus. I got a little bit lazy because I was just trying to burst through them last week. Whereas like my Piranha, which is around there, was like actually one of the first things that I... Do you want to hand us that? Because I can't quite reach it. It was one of the first things that I painted. And I spent ages trying to do like the line work and stuff and trying to like angle it. But like... I
love that mini. You got me one of those and I still haven't assembled it.
There you go. I was a lot neater with that one. Like trying to get all of the line work on the guys in there. I did, however, put red lenses on them, and actually I realised I wanted pink and orange. So.
There's something about that mini that just, to me, epitomises the aesthetic of the Tau Empire. It just looks so cool.
So
sleek. And...
It's interesting that you say that, because I think that...
That's a word, right? Epitomise?
Yeah, to epitomise.
Encapture.
Yeah, I think that, like... let's bring the camera back.
Vocabulary.
It's a good word, because, like, that isn't, for me, what I kind of, like, think is the top kind of aesthetic for me. For me, it's the Crisis battlesuit.
Yeah, true.
And I might borrow your camera in a second if this one's going to keep...
gunship as well.
Oh, yeah, the tanks.
Yeah.
My Hammerhead is not at the table. Because railguns is like... And that's the thing, like, I haven't seen on any of, like, the recent minis. But, like, I have seen, like... Hammerheads with railguns, or like the tanks with mini railguns and stuff. Yeah. But the thing that really gets it for me is literally the Ghost Keel and the Crisis battlesuit. For me, because like I really liked that Gundam style anime, and I even did like I kit bashed this one. I took it apart and then repositioned it and glued it all together to be like, like going into battle.
That. Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to replicate that. That looks awesome.
And yeah, so I adore that. I think that for me, and like the fact that there's somebody in that chest, just like balled up, controlling it. I love mech suits.
Kind of like District 9.
Yeah.
Into that mech suit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
and like same with the Ghost Keel. I mean, what I do like about the Ghost Keel is it opens up and there is actually like a mini in there.
Yeah.
And like you can't see it, but outside of his arms, like to like that side and that side of his arms, there are computer panels on the inside.
That's sick.
And I've painted them up.
Yeah.
But they'll never be seen. But I was like, I looked at it when I first put it together, and I was just like, I can't leave those.
Yeah, I know.
I have to do them, and like so. But then Tesseract Glow went around all of those. But yeah, so I think that for me is what I imagine the Tau to be is like these big battle suits, and they're like all fighting and stuff. But I guess as we sort of come to a close in the last sort of like 8 minutes, we're going for a wash.
I was just gonna try the Agrax Earthshade because I heard it's in many ways gives Nolan Oil a run for its money.
Yes, I very much like Agrax Earthshade. I use it a lot for...
I did actually mean to go with this, but I was actually using Rakeland Flesh Shade, which is another wash. But in my mind, I was using this, but I was using something completely different. But it's all a question of experiment.
And I think that that's kind of what is great about the Tyranid is like you can do that. And in all fairness, if you end up not liking it, you can strip it back and start again.
Yeah, true.
Do you know how you're going to base them yet?
I probably go for sort of like maybe... I kind of want to make them slimy, like they've already settled on this planet and they're just like gorgeous everywhere. These like microscopic bacteria just to consume it, just like slimy.
Nice.
Urban slimy, I guess.
Yeah, very, very cool.
Yeah.
I definitely think that... So I did all my bases separately, then glued them on and stuff, and had to like kit bash them and stuff. And I think that maybe in time we'll go over what we did. 4 bases, but for now it's just a case of just painting and hanging out.
Yeah.
So we've covered races very basically this week, and if we've missed any races, guys, do put some comments on the YouTube video or go to Alex's home address and knock on the door early morning because he's got a dog as well, so that's really wake up everybody around. And let us know if we've missed one or if there's anything that you'd like us to cover.
I definitely think of a few. We talked about the haven't talked about the Grey Knights or the Adeptus Sororitas.
Well, they're factions of the Space Marines, and I guess like we can probably go into that if you want to. I mean, like we can either next week as we come into. Are we going for Wednesday next week?
Dude, check that out.
I love Agrax Earthshade, man.
Oh man, yeah, I want to do that for everything. Yeah, I'll have to let you know about next week, but yeah.
Hopefully we'll be back on Wednesday next week.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you want to go into more of human stuff like Primarchs, or do you want to go into factions, or do you want to go into what do people want to see out there? Is there anything that you guys want to know about, or anything that you want Alex to give his opinion on with the 40k verse? Not just anything. Tell me what you think about now. Yeah, just let us know, because there are many places we can go from this, and we can delve deeper into each individual race, or we can go into a bit more of an overview of like technologies, or we can really go anywhere from this point, because we've mentioned a lot of things. And I think what I found with the 40k verse, when you were telling me things and we went off and we started learning things, or you say we did, you learned most of them, I went and watched some videos.
But this is very much me just going...
Yeah, and we're going to keep coming back to things. And as I kept learning things as I went around the internet, where I didn't know something in an episode, 2 episodes later, I was like, oh, the penny drops. Yeah. And then you're like, so this means that, and this is that. And then it all starts dotting together, which is really cool. And I very much that. So tech, Dan Track wants tech.
You want tech? Cool.
Any particular kind of tech, Dan Track?
Alien tech, human tech, or just tech in general?
Because, I mean, we can talk about weapons, we can talk about... naval fleets, we can talk about...
yeah, we'll definitely have to get some pictures up.
Yeah, and we will actually do some stream prep.
Yeah.
And get those together.
Cool. Well, we can...
Next Tuesday.
Yeah, do you want to do... well, I need to have a look at my schedule, but...
No, I meant the stream prep. We obviously did it all last night today. That's why I had to go hunting for stuff.
Yeah, we can do tech next weekend. Next week, sorry.
So we'll look at tech next week then. General weapons and vehicles.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, cool. Vehicles are in. And actually, you know what? I'm going to focus on painting a vehicle next week.
Cool. Yeah, I need to have a look what I've got.
Because I'm going to work on my little.
I guess most of Tyranid vehicles are just more bigger Tyranid organisms.
Yes, but they do.
You're going to have to buy them.
Oh well. Oops.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much any text between us. It's just a picture of a product and then us going oops.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess then we will cover. I say we. Alex will. I will try and pull the information of vehicles out of Alex, and I guess we'll try and go across all of the races again as kind of a brief overview.
I mean, we could talk about like tech for each race, step by step, or we could just talk about whatever comes to my mind, and then you just get a photo up, something like that.
Yeah, and if you've got questions, again, like you guys have been doing, ask away in the chat or put them in the YouTube comments, and we will do our best to either find you links or talk about it in next episodes, and we'll just go from there and just hang out, talk 40k, and hopefully I'll learn something, hopefully you guys will learn something, and hopefully Alex will rediscover something very Mechanicum style. Yeah. So yeah, I guess we'll look at that one next week.
That's a good analogy, I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, that's came to me right now because I'm really smart. Nice. I'm not smart. I guess that's it. I'm going to stop saying because I don't know how to end this show.
That's fine.
Guys.
Cheers and peace. Thank you very much.
I think that's what it's going to be. We're going to sign off because I didn't hit
2 hours.
Yeah, it was.
I don't think I shut up. That's why.
I'm here for it. I like hanging out with you guys. Cheers, Dan Track. Cheers, Fluffy. Thank you, everyone who was in chat, giving us suggestions and asking questions. It's genuinely an absolute pleasure to interact with you. And when you guys gave us feedback last week about what you'd like to see, obviously, like I get to sit here in the studio and play around with the cameras, and you get to come in and chat about 40k. So I'm all for it.
Awesome.
Cheers, Fluffy. Rest of the week, I've got some shows coming up. I've got Painting Up the Monster Manual tomorrow, midday UK time, where me and Warrior Prince are painting up the Diva, which is the 3rd installment of our show. It's primed and ready to go. That is the WizKids Diva as we start moving into Angels on the Monster Manual. Yeah. I've got Dragonlance on Friday at 9 p.m. with Band of Badgers on their Twitch channel. And you are with me this weekend at all?
Possibly. I don't know what's...
I don't know either yet.
I don't think I've got any concrete plans. So.
We may, and it's not confirmed yet, we may be streaming a game of Nemesis on possibly Sunday.
That'd be cool.
I hope we are, because it's such a fun game, and it's loosely based on the Aliens franchise, and basically those of you who know that or have seen the game, you explore a ship that you wake up on mid hyperspace travel, I guess, and the ship is crawling with aliens, and you've got to try and fix the engines, get it going to Earth.
And there are miniatures in there as well, and it's very interactive.
Yeah, it's very thematic, and it's like
every theatrical.
Time,
you described that theatrical game.
Board gaming, and it really is, because it like every time you play it...
Completely new to that concept, and it's awesome.
Yeah, because every time you play it, something new happens. You could be working with the crew, and it's called a semi-cooperative board game, because you could be working with people, or one person could be trying to kill player 4. Yeah. Hey, Hagley, welcome to the back end of us signing off to the stream. Good to see you. I hope you had a nice day at work, because I know obviously you must have just finished around this time over in the States. Yeah, so hopefully maybe there's a stream with us on Sunday for doing some Nemesis.
Maybe this weekend, Sunday or...
But if not, I don't know, we might get together and do something else. I don't know yet. We'll work something out and we'll put out some banners and stuff. Don't worry about it, Hagley. You can catch up on the VOD and you can watch on YouTube, add some comments. We should stream again soon, Hagley, because I think there's some fun things that we can do. So anybody who doesn't know who Hagley is, go check out Dragon School Studios on YouTube and Twitch. Dude's an awesome painter and just a genuinely nice guy. But yeah, we're going to sign off.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Likes, comments, subs, all that stuff. And Alex is going to give you the best piece of advice he's ever had in his life.
Come prepared.